Okay, today we are going off the ground. Welcome to the Tainted Tavern.
Welcome to the Tainted Tavern. Come sit inside for free.
You know, an artist like Paul McCartney, who has built up such a long discography, such a lengthy discography, then it's obvious that certain albums are going to be overlooked and neglected over time because, you know, his most popular ones tend to float to the bottom, and then you get some of his experimental work and a lot of fans place those lower down in the list and they tend to be forgotten. And one such album came out in 1993. Now, to put it in context, previous to 93, McCartney had gone back out on tour in 89 to promote the album Flowers in the Dirt. It was also the first tour that McCartney did since being locked up in a Japanese jail cell for carrying some, shall we call it, exotic tobacco. But that tour in 89, which was launched to promote his new album at the time, a very strong album as well that did really well, Flowers in the Dirt. And that's the first time I saw McCartney live. At that time I was 24 years of age. I saw him up in London in Wembley, the old original Wembley. It was fantastic. I was lucky to, the tickets weren't too expensive at that stage either, not like they are these days. And also when you went in, there were a free program. The tour was sponsored by Friends of the Earth, and or Friends of the Earth, and there was a large tour program, and they were placed on each seat. You didn't even have to pay for it. Those were the days when you got value for your money. And McCartney's show, the 89 show, as I say, I've seen him twice since, but the 89 show has a fond place in my heart. It was a fantastic show. So he'd had a lot of success with that. Then in 1993 he launches another world tour. I think that one was called the New World Tour. I didn't see him on that tour, but that was the New World Tour, and he brought out another new album, and that was 1993's Off the Ground. I think this is a pretty strong album, and it doesn't deserve to be neglected and forgotten about the way it has by some people. This is a CD version. This is the original CD version. I never had this on vinyl because in 1993 I was like many people. I mean, I grew up with vinyl, and when CDs first came out, the big thing was that they were supposedly indestructible, and you didn't get scratches or hisses, which was a curse of vinyl back in the day, especially when I was growing up, you know, because we didn't have expensive record players. I remember probably the best record player I ever had when I was a kid was an Amstrad hi-fi system. It was decent, but you know, you'd play your records to death and they'd end up scratching and hissing. So CDs, because that didn't happen with CDs, you didn't get the scratches and the hisses, though we did find out that they weren't indestructible. I, like a lot of people, my vinyl went by and by, you know, a lot of it was scratched to hell anyway, so I didn't have a record player for a great many years, and I didn't get a turntable until 10, 12 years ago again, when vinyl started to make a comeback. So I got this on CD. It was issued on vinyl, but because CD was by far the dominant factor at that stage, it was a limited vinyl run, and it's never been reissued on vinyl. So if you have got a copy of Off the Ground on vinyl in good condition, you're sitting on a pretty valuable item. I saw one go recently, a vinyl copy in reasonable condition. The cover was complete, the record was in good condition, and that went for £180. So, you know, they are going for decent prices. But I, at the time, only purchased this on CD, and this is my original CD. The jewel case has been replaced several times. I'm not a fan of the jewel case. I know a lot of people prefer jewel cases to the way CDs are packaged these days. Usually these days you get what's known as a digipack or even a mini LP CD. I much prefer that to the old jewel case. Now, I also purchased at the time, and I've still got this, was a CD single. This is Hope of Deliverance, and the format that this is presented, it was a short-lived experiment by EMI, And this case here is called a lock case, and it's got a little clip there, and you lock it, it locks the case shut. This CD single is really cool. It's Open Deliverance, but the B-sides, or basically this is an EP. I mean, there's 4 songs on here. You got true singles back in the days of 45s. You had a song on side A, a song on side B. Anything else was classed as an EP. That is extended play. But this firmly fell into the camp of CD single, though, in effect, if you want to be strict about the definition of what a single is and what an EP is, and this would qualify as an EP. And there's 4 songs on here. So the lead song is Open Deliverance, then you've got Big Boys Bickering, Long Leather Coat, and Kicked Around No More. Now, Big Boys Bickering and Long Leather Coat is very interesting in relation to what McCartney did on the parent album, Off the Ground, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But going back to the actual album, it was recorded very much as if it was a live album. It's a studio album, it's not a live album, but Paul McCartney's touring band, who were absolutely superb at that period, I mean, Amish, Wicks, Blair, all that lot, they recorded it. They did very few takes to get the song right, and then they recorded it in the studio as if they were a live band. Now, there's some fantastic songs on this, and I feel that Flowers in the Dirt, the album that came before it, was undoubtedly maybe stronger than this. But over the years, I've gone to prefer this more to Off the Ground, to Flowers in the Dirt, although I do love them both. But for instance, on here, there are 2 songs which were leftovers from the Flowers in the Dirt session, because famously the Flowers in the Dirt session saw McCartney teaming up with Elvis Costello, Mr. McManus, Elvis Costello, and writing songs together with him, and they did some great stuff. My Brave Face is one of theirs, but there are 2 tracks left over on here, and that is Mistress and Maid and The Lovers That Never Were, which were leftovers by Elvis and McCartney. And they both great songs. But I'm going to go through this a minute track by track, and then I'm going to clarify the statement I just made of why the 2 songs on this single here, Big Boys Bickering and Long Leather Coat, stack in relation to Off the Ground. And I've just dropped me vape. I've dropped me vape. Oh, beloved vape that keeps me off the wicked cigarettes. So yeah, starting off side 1, we've got Off the Ground, which is a lovely bouncy little folky rock type song. Off the ground, la 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 la, off the. It's just a cool song. Then Looking for Changes. Now, Looking for Changes is a very political song for Paul McCartney. Paul didn't tend to do too many political songs. He left that side of things to John. But Paul got very political on here, and Looking for Changes is very much related in themes to Big Boys Bickering and Long Leather Coat on the single, and I'll explain that. Now, Looking for Changes, it's a song about animal rights. It starts off, I saw a cat with a machine in his brain. The man who fed him said he didn't feel any pain. I'd like to see that man take out that machine and stick it in his own brain. There's other verses like, I saw a monkey that was learning to cough. The guy beside him gave him cigarettes to smoke. And every time the monkey started to cough, the bastard laughed his head off. So it's an angry rocker. Very, very much McCartney, and he's always been interested in animal rights. I mean, he's a devoted vegetarian, and he does push animal rights. So I think Looking for Changes is a great song. Now, Long Leather Coat on the CD single is another thing about animal rights. On the single is another song along the same themes. It's about animal rights, and it's a story song. It's a very good rocker, and it's got a line like, that ends the song, don't you know that your long leather coat is really nothing but an handful of skin? And I remember a video of that song where someone was chucking red paint over this long leather coat, you know. So what Paul was advocating, I think, some sort of action for animal rights, and saying that this type of action was justified at the time. Big Boys Bickering is not so much about animal rights, it's more political, and he's talking about politicians and how they destroy things and ruin the lives for so many people. And it's one of the very, very few songs, if the only one, where Paul McCartney swears, or at least to the extent he swears in this. The lyrics go something like, big boys bickering, fucking it up for everyone, fucking it up for everyone. But the problem with this song, to my mind, is it's a very angry song, and the sentiments you can't agree with, because politicians do fuck it up for everyone. But Paul sings it in a kind of bouncy, jumpy kind of, almost melodic vibe, which doesn't suit the subject of the song, not to my opinion anyway. I mean, it would have been much better, this would have, Big Boys Bickering, if it had been an angry type song, and I'm using the words angry from Press to Play, or something of the Rockers, like he did on it's gone out of my mind, back to the egg. What the hell gives you the right to tell me what to do with my life? That type of thing. So it doesn't really work, to my mind. The melody and the musical, the way the song is presented, doesn't really match the anger that's in the song, but it's a great song. So that takes us back to the album now. So we just talked about looking for changes. Then we get Hope of Deliverance, which of course was the main lead single for it. Mistress and Maid. Mistress and Maid is a co-write with Elvis Costello, which has been left off from The Flowers in the Dirt, and it's basically about a woman whose marriage has gone stale, and she sees herself as just being a mistress and a maid to her husband. It's a beautiful melody, and it's very well sung by McCartney, great vocal. After that, it's I Owe It All to You, which I think is an absolutely superb McCartney love song, which deserves to be as well known as songs such as My Love. Oh, I owe it all to you, you make me happy. But it's a wonderful song, big production number, great song. Then we're into Biker Like an Icon, which is one of the songs which is much maligned by fans and critics. And I've never understood that, because it's a straightforward kind of throwback to more innocent times, to rock and roll type songs. She loved a biker like an icon, she used to, and it's a great song and it's a great performance. Then we've got Peace in the Neighborhood, which is another ballad. Lyrics like, the best thing I ever saw, I saw a man who loved his wife. It's okay. Then we've got Golden Earth Girl, which is another ballady type thing in which Paul is singing about Linda. It's okay, but it's, then we have The Lovers That Never Were, which is the second of the two songs on this album that Paul wrote with Costello, with Elvis Costello, and this is a fantastic song. But the problem with this little run of two songs prior to this, Peace in the Neighborhood and Golden Earth Girl being right next to each other, it slows things down a lot, and it's a bit of a turgid listen. But the songs are good, they're certainly not bad songs. So after The Lovers Never Were, we've got Get Out of My Witch, which is another rock and roller type song that could have come from the 1950s. Get out of my way, I want to see my baby tonight. It's a really, really cool song. Then we've got Winedark Open Sea, which to my mind is the best song on the track. It is beautiful. It's one of the most atmospheric McCartney songs. It deserves to be up there. I mean, it reminds me a lot of Wanderlust, but that's only because they've both got a nautical kind of theme to them. Winedark Open Sea is absolutely superb. I was listening to this album again last night. I think it was late. It was about 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. Everyone else was in bed. I was sat here, I had a glass of whiskey, and Winedark Open Sea come on, and oh my gosh, it just enveloped me. It's a fantastic song. So after Winedark Open Sea, you've got Come On People, let the world begin. We've got a future and it's charging in. It's an okay song to end the album. Now the CD was slightly longer than the vinyl. Now, I'm not sure if what I'm going to say now is correct. And if I'm wrong and you've got the vinyl, then please correct me in the comments down below, because I'm not sure about this. But I know the CD was slightly longer than the vinyl because they had a problem putting all of the songs onto the vinyl. They had to make the grooves very close together, which can cause a lack of sound quality. So the vinyl was quite a few minutes shorter in this. I'd have to look that up. to see what the difference in length was. Hold on a minute, and I'll go and Google that. I shall be back in one moment, because I think that's an important point to clarify. Find any information on that, so I could be wrong in saying this, but I know that Off the Ground was treated as a CD first. CD was the preferred format, especially in the US. I don't think a vinyl. Did a vinyl version come out in the US? Again, if anyone knows the answer to that, then please put that in the comments below. But from what I understand and what I think I've read over the years, the track on your Come On People was a lot shorter on the vinyl in order to fit it all in without losing too much sound quality. But so after Come On People, it ends then with a kind of chanty type song called Cosmically Conscious, basically, which plays a few times and leads into the fade out, and it goes something like, come and be cosmically conscious with me, such a joy, 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 joy. Well, that isn't a joy particularly. Now, why do I say this album needs to be re-evaluated? I think because McCartney, particularly during the mid 80s to say late 90s, was on something of a slump creatively. You know, he'd had some great albums in the 80s. Tug of War is a very well remembered album. Pipes of Peace was successful, though I think that is a very weak album by McCartney's standards. Press to Play is another that is much maligned, but I love Press to Play. I think that's a far better album than it's often given credit for. But McCartney, although he seemed to have found his mojo again, especially with his tours, his tours were spectacular. The one as I say, the one I saw in 1989 in Wembley just blew me away. It was fantastic. But when McCartney came back then with Flowers in the Dirt, which was the album he was promoting for that 89 tour, it was seen as something of a return to form after a weak period. And this may not be as strong as Flowers in the Dirt. So once Flowers in the Dirt was sort of up there, and then this critically was seen as something of a slump. But I really don't agree with that. I think it's a fantastic album. And I really like the cover, which again was designed by is it Hypnosis or Hypnosis, the graphic designers that did a lot of classic album covers, such as Dark Side of the Moon, famously for Pink Floyd. He did several of Wings covers. But you've got the feature of the band member in to suggest they're Off the Ground. I think that Off the Ground is a fantastic album. I'm going to be doing a video soon ranking all of Paul McCartney's albums, and this possibly would be outside of the top 10 McCartney albums, but it would certainly be somewhere in the following 10. It's not. I think there are far worse McCartney albums than this. There are a lot better, but there are far worse. This is a pretty decent mid-tier McCartney album in my opinion. So that's Off the Ground from 1993. It got to number 5 in the UK album charts, and I think it peaked at number 17 in the American album charts. So the singles didn't really do very well at all. I don't think any of the singles released off this album got into the top 10 in the UK. There was another version of this album brought out years later called Off the Ground, The Complete Works, which collected together the other tracks on your Big Boys Bickering, Long Leather Coat, Kicked Around No More. And a lot of fans claim that a few songs should have been substituted from the actual released album, and these songs should have been put in their place. Hindsight is a wonderful thing. I certainly think that Long Leather Coat is a very strong track, and yes, if that was on your, maybe instead of something like Peace in the Neighborhood, it would be a stronger album. Peace in the Neighborhood, I think, is a song begging to be a B-side rather than anything else. But I don't know, I leave that up to you. The Off the Ground, The Complete Works, I believe you can listen to it on YouTube. I think someone has put a mix-up of it on YouTube so you can listen to it, so I don't know. But it is what it is, and this is the actual official album, so this is the album I've been talking about today. I think it's a fantastic album. I think it's pretty decent, and it's well worth getting hold of. I never skip any tracks, but then I'm kind of old school. I don't believe in skipping album tracks. I feel an album is an artistic statement, and each song belongs in its place. That is, if it's structured correctly. And then I'm going to contradict myself, because in the entire history of listening to records, albums, there's only ever been one track that I have skipped. So I do on very, very rare occasions skip a track, but that track is number 9 on the Beatles' The White Album, and you can't blame me for that. Number 9, number 9, number 9, number 9. What a load of pretentious bullshit. Anyway, so that's Off the Ground. Please give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment down below, and if you haven't subscribed, then please do so. It helps the channel, and I would very much appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Cheers, Yakida, and see you soon. And don't forget, come back to the Tainted Tavern.
Come back soon.